OnlyFans, a breakthrough for the destigmatisation of sex work, or just another opportunity for exploitation. OnlyFans is a social media platform, like YouTube or Instagram. However, access isn't open to everyone. On OnlyFans, subscribers pay a monthly fee to see content posted by creators. The platform hosts creators from industries including fitness, beauty, and musicians, monetising their content to their biggest fans. The platform also has an interactive element and describes itself as a place where creators can monetise their content and interact with their fan base. OnlyFans became a cultural phenomenon during the pandemic, with several mainstream celebrities setting up accounts. However, the group of users that dominates mainstream understanding is sex workers, and the phrase "to start an OnlyFans" is commonly understood to mean someone is selling access to sexually explicit photos and videos of themselves. OnlyFans gathered a reputation for offering somewhat of a get-rich-quick scheme, with stories circulating of creators making thousands of pounds in 1 week for their content. For creators, what attracts them is the high-earning success stories, low fees, flexibility, and the social media frenzy around the platform. For users, the interaction element of OnlyFans is what appeals to them, capitalising on the loneliness and isolation which was rife during the pandemic. Therefore, if OnlyFans is the hottest social media platform in the world, why is there so much controversy around it? The first ethical failing of OnlyFans relates to technology, particularly a lack of investment in cybersecurity, moderation, or safeguarding. This has resulted in issues including hackings, illegal content on site, and the use of the platform by underage users. In the case of hackings, creators would have their accounts and income stream destroyed by hackers who deleted their content, blackmailed them, or posted illegal content to their pages. OnlyFans' reaction to this: closing the account of the creator, therefore destroying their income through no fault of their own. These technological issues have also led to much more sinister discoveries on the site. In May 2021, the BBC launched an investigation into OnlyFans and discovered numerous videos with illegal and extreme content which violated its terms of use. The BBC found reports that moderation on illegal content was not being carried out enough, that moderators were criticised for over-moderating, and from a leaked compliance manual, it states that accounts should not be escalated for closure until there are at least 5 examples of illegal content, and accounts with higher numbers of subscribers are given additional warnings when rules are broken. The most alarming issue is the presence of both users and creators under the age of 18 on the site. The BBC discovered that OnlyFans was failing to prevent users under 18 from selling and appearing in explicit videos. While it is incredibly damaging for children to be viewing sexually explicit content, the BBC found that there are extensive accounts of vulnerable children using the site to make money and appearing in explicit videos due to coercion, manipulation, blackmail, and a lack of consent for their images to be posted on the site. The fundamental issue here is that OnlyFans is not willing to invest in proper cybersecurity, content moderation, and verification technology to prevent these issues. This is because it would be more costly for them to implement new technology, and the accounts posting illegal content are still providing OnlyFans with 20% of their income. For profit maximisation, OnlyFans is willing to allow their loyal creators to suffer loss of income from hackings, expose their users to illegal content, and sacrifice the safety and long-term well-being of vulnerable children. Informed by John Locke's Ethics of Rights, children have a right to be protected from harm on the internet, and OnlyFans display a massive ethical failing to this end. Immanuel Kant is a German philosopher who sits within deontology. From a deontological perspective, otherwise known as duty-based ethics, and based on assumptions of universal morality and duties of right and wrong, OnlyFans has a duty to their users to ensure that their information is safe and secure. They have a duty to the law to ensure that no illegal behaviour occurs on their platform, and a duty to ensure that vulnerable people are protected from harm on their site, all of which they are ignoring, showing the complete ethical ignorance of the company. In fact, through application of other ethical theories, such as rule utilitarianism, it should be an ethical principle across the firm that illegal content is not allowed and accounts which host this will be immediately suspended. However, OnlyFans allows accounts with large followings to break these rules, but not those with small followings. This shows a complete lack of ethical standards within the company and prioritisation of profit over all else. We should also consider whether the only ethical failing here is on the part of OnlyFans. The firm claims that it goes far beyond all relevant global safety standards and regulations, which poses the question of whether lawmakers are satisfying their duty to protect internet users. It is widely asserted that the UK government has been extremely slow to react to the desperate need for social media sites to be regulated. A piece of legislation answering this outcry, the draft Online Safety Bill, is currently going through pre-legislative scrutiny and imposes a duty of care on these companies to protect their users from harmful content. The communications regulator, Ofcom, will be tasked with overseeing compliance. Despite this, there are huge concerns around how long it will take for the law to come into effect and whether the fine suggested for companies if they violate the bill will be enough to deter wealthy tech companies. It is likely that this BBC investigation contributed in part to the second high-profile scandal involving OnlyFans. their deplatforming of sex in August 2021. They shocked the media, users, and content creators by releasing a statement that they were banning sexually explicit content from their site. This decision seemed incomprehensible and would destroy the livelihood of many sex workers who found refuge in the platform during the pandemic. This announcement was followed by much skepticism as to whether the platform would survive following the banning of sex acts on its site. A week later, they retracted the policy, with CEO Tim Stokely saying that they had been forced to make this decision because many banks were choosing to cite reputational risk and refused their business, resulting in blocked payments. However, others speculated that the reason behind this decision was due to OnlyFans struggling to find investors. The firm had been planning a share sale, but the adult entertainment industry is not seen as attractive to investors. Through banning sexually explicit content, this would make OnlyFans a much more attractive investment. This explanation is supported by evidence that OnlyFans has been making deliberate attempts to distance itself from sexually explicit content through their corporate communications and the recent launch of their app, which does not contain any sexually explicit content. Perhaps this distancing is an attempt to create a business model which they think has more longevity due to less volatility and risks associated. This tactic has been employed throughout the years by sites such as Tumblr and Patreon, with all social media giants banning sexually explicit content eventually in favour of a wider consumer base. OnlyFans showed ethical relativism in their decision-making, in that they were willing to act unethically towards their creators because they are sex workers, and sex workers are notoriously overlooked, mistreated and stigmatised. When we assess the ethics applied to investors through this decision, there was much more concern evident as OnlyFans tried to clean up their image to attract capital. OnlyFans could have applied a utilitarian approach here, a theory which encourages consideration of both the positive and negative outcomes of a decision. This theory states that the action chosen should be the one which results in the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people. From this perspective, OnlyFans would not have abandoned millions of creators simply to benefit the few shareholders and investors in the short term. Despite this, the question remains, why did OnlyFans retract the policy? In his interview with the Financial Times, Stokely alludes to an improved relationship with banks. But, in reality, was the media storm and negative press around the abandonment of sex workers just too much for the firm? Or, from my perspective, I wonder was the statement to ban explicit content and the quick retraction of this while using the banks as a scapegoat actually a strategic move itself on the part of OnlyFans to subtly nudge sex workers off the platform through lack of security and the ominous banks threatening their livelihood? Creators have truly felt the sting of uncertainty and are moving away from OnlyFans in favour of other platforms and spreading risk to ensure that their income is not ruined if one site follows the history of deplatforming sex. This, coupled with a social media storm from those standing in solidarity with sex workers, creates concern for the future of OnlyFans. From an ethical perspective, one of the key formulations of Kant's categorical imperative is respect for persons, in which humans deserve respect as autonomous, rational actors, and this essential human dignity should never be ignored. OnlyFans ignores the dignity of both their users and their creators through their discussed actions, creating stress and anxiety and leaving them with prolonged job insecurity. This shows a complete lack of ethical decision-making present and a prioritisation of short-term business interests. It could be argued that ethical egoism or Machiavellianism is at play here, which is rooted in individualism. It is clear that OnlyFans are acting in a way which pursues their short-term desires to attract investors and distance themselves from sex work, without really considering the consequences to any other parties. But it is questionable as to whether this decision is even in the long-term interests of the company. To recover from these multiple ethical scandals, OnlyFans should seek to move up Carroll's CSR pyramid and establish themselves as an ethical organisation. A heavy investment in upgrading their moderation, age verification and safeguarding processes is necessary to meet their legal responsibilities. It is also essential that OnlyFans take this opportunity to truly declare support for sex workers and begin to build the community's trust in them again. This step would be a start in achieving their ethical responsibilities to their stakeholders. OnlyFans' terms of service has been criticised widely for stating that they are not responsible for reviewing or moderating content on their site. They must develop a comprehensive terms of service document which goes beyond their legal requirements. Following this, they must develop a governance code to instill an ethical climate within the organisation, ensuring that this is understood and effectively implemented throughout all levels of the business. This should be supported by genuine commitment from senior management and leaders of the firm to build trust with their stakeholders. Lars and Kelly suggest an alternative approach to corporate ethical decision-making. Rooted in Lungarian philosophy, this embraces reflexive thinking and an ethical consciousness amongst employees. This empowerment of employees to act in a way that they see ethically fit encourages accountability and moral responsibility through all levels of the firm, leading to a more deeply entrenched ethical climate. Due to the scandals and ethical failures discussed, it is questionable whether OnlyFans has a long-term viable future. In particular, it is likely that their movement towards deplatforming sex will limit the success of the business as it may lose its main consumer base and content pillar. Therefore, the decisions discussed today were not only unethical, but overall strategically poor and are likely to be the beginning of the firm's demise.